Uncle Chunt.
I mean, seriously, when you think about it, it spits in the face of everything. The legacy of the original trilogy, even the prequels, and definitely The Force Awakens. It's just not a good Star Wars film. Speaking about not really having a plan, I mean, like, the woman with the pink hair, if they had a plan and they knew what they were doing, she wouldn't have sacrificed herself to pilot the ship directly into the dreadnought at light speed. She could have just put it on autopilot and left with the ship and everybody else. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why she had to die. I don't understand why she didn't tell Poe what was going on. I don't understand why that whole part was there. I don't understand why those ships can't travel a little bit faster so they could catch up. I just don't get it. Mind you, these new movies are spitting in the faces of all the original cast in the original trilogy. I mean, Han Solo, after the events of what happens with Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker, Han Solo just hightails it, runs away, just becomes a traitor again in space with Chewie, essentially removing all his character progression in the original trilogy to being the hero that he was at the end of it, and he was right back where he started. I just think that's detrimental to his character as a whole. Also, Luke Skywalker, I don't think this is the Luke Skywalker that we should have gotten. I mean, like, at what point is the most optimistic character in the galaxy in the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker, who challenged everybody who believed in Darth Vader, that his father was still in there, over 3 films, and hung in there until he finally achieved bringing him back to the light. All of a sudden, in one instance, has a thought to strike down Ben Solo just because he had a bad feeling. I just think that moment, that just spat all over the character of Luke Skywalker. That's not who he is. He wouldn't have done that, and I think I agree when Mark Hamill has said in interviews that he fundamentally disagrees with everything about Luke's character in this film. And you just have to see that point, that moment, to understand, yeah, they just don't understand Luke Skywalker. He wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have even thought about killing Ben Solo at all. Because you don't go from wishing and willing and hoping that your father can come back to the light, and you can sense there's conflict in him, so you stick it out in the hopes that you can bring him back. You don't do that. You don't sit there and hope that this Lord, this Sith Lord, this dark presence can come back. And then while you're studying and learning and teaching other students to become members of the Jedi Order and the ways of that religion, you don't instantly be like, oh, this guy, I feel bad things, maybe I should kill him. Fundamentally against the Luke character. I don't agree with it at all. And for him at that point, let's say that, okay, let's agree that that did happen because it did. At what point would Luke actually just run away? and leave everybody for dead. I don't agree with it. I don't agree that he'd be like, oh, I did it bad, oh no, I mean, now Kylo's going around killing people and he's taken the rest of the Jedis I was teaching. He destroyed the temple. I think I might go put myself in exile now, pouty face. Maybe people feel sorry for me? Now, sorry, no. He wouldn't. He's the hero. He's supposed to be the hero. And he is, to so many. For him just to run away and leave everybody for dead, to fight Kylo Ren and his uprising on their own, especially when Han's gone AWOL and pissed off, leaving Leia and the Resistance, or the Rebels and the Republic, just by themselves, no one to help, really. I just think it's just so fundamentally wrong. And then comes the First Order out of nowhere. Where the hell does the First Order come from? It's never explained how the First Order appeared or emerged. The Empire's gone. Obviously, yeah, they might have rebuilt on their ashes, but how? It just appeared. It hasn't been explained. Oh, I can't wait for that breakfast to finish cooking. And like also, Rey, when she went to go see Luke, she didn't do any training with him. She just turned up, waited for him, swung the lightsaber around for a bit, cracked a few rocks, and that was it. Like, what was that, within 6 hours or something? Didn't the ships only have about 6 hours left of fuel or whatever? So she was on that planet with Luke maybe a day. Like, I know we saw some time lapse, and yeah, space time, all that kind of crap. Yeah, maybe she was there for a day. I don't know, but it didn't seem like a long time. Like Luke with Yoda was about, I don't know, there was a good span of time that passed, maybe a few months. Well, that's cooking really good, and yeah, he had enough time to kind of get his Jedi skills up and ready. But she just didn't have enough time to do anything, really. I honestly don't think Rey's earned the way of the Jedi at all. I don't think she's had a chance. Her character's not interesting in this one. None of the characterizations seem to match well with what was established in The Force Awakens. All the rules of the world seem to have been thrown to the wayside from what was set up in The Force Awakens, even the original Star Wars trilogy. Rules don't seem to apply now, it's all different. The way of the Force is different. Characters aren't the same. Like, there's established lore that they need to take into consideration with these new films. It just seems to be on its own. Rey and Kylo seem to be completely OP. They don't even know how to use the Force properly, let alone fight with a lightsaber, really. There's no finesse, there's no skill. No one seems to have taught them really well. I don't know what Snoke was doing with Kylo, but he seems to be, yes, powerful, but doesn't seem to understand the finer points of using the Force and the lightsaber. And let's talk about Snoke for a minute. Nobody knows who he is. We haven't earned who this person is, or where he comes from, or what his purpose is, or why he's so important. I mean, yes, he was set up in The Force Awakens as this ominous, powerful being that ruled Kylo, who was actually cringing and afraid of Snoke, and now he's assumingly dead. I don't know, there was no payoff for that. There was no... I understand it was like when the movie is thinking about going one way and it goes another. Yeah, that's cool, plot twists are cool, and I admit I was like, oh, I was pretty shocked, but it was just weak. It felt cheap. Like, we didn't earn that moment. I don't care who he is, I don't care why he's dead. Okay, and Princess or General Leia using the Force, I'm okay with. And it's been hinted at in Return of the Jedi that, yeah, she might be Force sensitive. I mean, she could hear or feel Luke calling out to her or reaching out to her in the Jedi. and you can see that she was feeling something in that film. And now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, bam, I'm gonna fly through space with the Force and protect myself from the rigors of the vacuum, yeah, and all the radiation and the cold and everything that space can kill you with. I'm alive, woo, Mary Poppins. I'm burning my eggs because I'm thinking about this too much. So you mean to tell me that this entire time she's been Force sensitive and she hasn't done anything? She hasn't gone out of her way to learn more as much as she can with Luke while she's still around, or while he's still around teaching the younglings? And if she can do Force tricks and is Force sensitive, as the Princess and Admiral of the Rebellion, or the Rebel Alliance, whatever you want to call it, shouldn't she be using every resource in her power to benefit further, to protect her people? I would have thought her as a character, that's important to her, to be doing the right thing and protecting people. If she has that ability, don't you think she'd be utilising that? Oh, this bloody film. I burnt my bloody eggs. Look at that. Burnt eggs. Thank you very much, Rian Johnson. I haven't even started talking about Finn yet. Finn's character, if you take out the whole subplot, is essentially pointless. Wasted opportunity. I mean, you know, that whole planet, the casino planet, it's just so bad. It wasn't an enjoyable portion of the film. And the heavy-handed animal cruelty, animals are good, let's save animals, that whole thing, it was just so heavy-handed. Like, come on, this is Star Wars. Please don't bring in your special Disney Earth messaging. I don't need to hear it when I'm trying to escape to a galaxy far, far away, not my current world climate. Finn actually had some character progression in this film, but it was cheapened by Rose. He finally learned to fight for something other than himself when he was going to take out that battering ram laser, and she took it from him. The First Order is right there, yet she was selfish enough to save him just because she wanted a kiss or something, I don't know. And what was stopping the First Order from just annihilating them on the spot afterwards instead of giving them 5 or 10 minutes to have their moment? I don't understand it. Oh, and another note. What's the go with this movie being like a Marvel film? A typical Disney comedic affair. It was so out of place. The Force Awakens had a good amount of humour in it. Not far removed from the original Star Wars films. But this one, it just had so much of like, here's a serious moment, let's throw a joke in there so the kids don't get bored. Just like what they do with Marvel films. I hate it. Like, the humour was so out of place. It didn't feel like Star Wars humour. Like when Rey's getting some lesson from Luke and he asks her to reach out. Like, it's a real kind of, it's a serious kind of progression moment. And it's cheapened by when he's like, reach out, like with the Force. But she just physically reaches her hand out for a cheap joke. You know, like, there's little things like that throughout the film. It just bugs me. I just can't explain my frustration. I like jokes. I like to have a good time, but within the context of the world that you're building. Oh, and the Luke. I mean, it's such a modern thing in our world, our real world. I was kind of taken out of the film at that point. Like, yeah, like that was it's pretty badass, that moment, before you realise it was a hologram or a force projection. If it was really there, I would have been like, okay, alright, that was pretty cool. But that moment, and the whole moment of Luke coming back, was cheapened by him being a force projection. I mean, this is Luke Skywalker, the legend, the hero. Yep, he didn't have the decency or the honour to pull himself out of his funk for half an hour to gain some respect back for the original character and turn up and fight. If you wanted to die, and another problem I had is like he said he went to that planet to die. That's not the optimistic Luke. That's not the hero Luke that we all knew. Anyway, if you wanted to die so bad, you could have done it going out totally like a boss and turn up and wreck house. Show Kylo who the hell is the Omega, the Alpha and everything, and just own Kylo and take out some of those AT-ATs as well while you're there. I don't know, like yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess it's powerful that he was able to force project himself across the galaxy and all that, but to not have the decency to say goodbye to your sister in person and help take out and distract the First Order in person like a true hero would have, totally negates the character again. Even starting back at The Force Awakens, the fact that there's an empire, a First Order, after peace has been achieved and the empire destroyed, where did the First Order come from? Why wasn't the focus on the Republic? Why wasn't the story of a new threat coming and looming towards the Republic to take it over? I think they would have been more strong and continued on with the story that was established in the legacy films. You know, pick up with the galaxy in peace and order with the Republic. And now, since the 30 years passed, a new threat has emerged called the First Order, and it's here to take everything back. I think that kind of angle would have been more interesting than just, okay, time's passed, stuff's not as good as it should be, hello, we're the First Order, the Rebel Alliance is minuscule, we don't see what's happened, we don't understand why that is, we don't understand why the Republic, after being representing the galaxy for the last 30 odd years, has dwindled down to nothing, and the presence is very small. You don't feel the presence of the Republic. Yeah, in The Force Awakens they destroy those planets which had the majority of the Republic on it, but that can't be all of them. And as we saw here in the Last Jedi, when they called out for hope for other members of the Rebel Alliance, and no one came, I see there's something really wrong with that. I just don't believe that would have went down the way it did. And I understand it was trying to build tension for when Luke shows up to save the day, but again, that was cheapened because he wasn't actually there. I just think, yeah, as I just mentioned, it's pretty awesome, but the whole ending was just cheapened by Luke not facing up. Now I understand the whole revelation that Kylo knows that Rey's parents sold her off for drink money. She didn't seem to deny it either, so that's another thing that was just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, I know your parents, I know who they are, they didn't care about you. That whole thing was just like, it wasn't a revelation, it wasn't a discovery, it was just a, oh yeah, by the way, that answer that we've all been wondering about for years, or a couple of years now. Yeah, no, it's not really anything to worry about. There's just a lot with this movie I just don't like. And it makes us, I think it just makes everybody stupid, or if you're not stupid if you like this movie, or these new Star Wars films, or at least these anthology movies, Hang on a minute. So as I was saying, you're not stupid for liking these anthology films, but they're just not good. They don't have the same magic. They don't seem to understand what came before. They don't understand the legacy. They don't stick with the rules. You can establish new lore, new experiences, new everything, yet still retain the laws that were set up before in the previous films. Now, I don't expect any of you to agree with me or even care about my thoughts, but I just thought I'd put them out there because Star Wars, it's a hallmark event. It's a hallmark of cinema. It's supposed to be the best. The best. It's what it's supposed to be. And this isn't good. Disney, you really need to pick up the game. You really need to get your team on side and really reconsider how they think Star Wars is and what it's about. I'm all for original stories outside of the Skywalker clan, the Skywalker family, that whole legacy. I'm okay with doing new stuff, new characters, but not at the expense of pissing all over what has been established and what made the franchise what it is in the first place. So until there's some correction going on, and I'm going to hold out hope that episode 9 is good, but otherwise, right now, I'm essentially done with Star Wars. Pretty much. Anyway, I have to go to work, and I'm sick of thinking about it already. Not work, I like having a job. I'm sick of thinking about Star Wars at the moment. Yeah, anyway, enjoy your day. I'll catch you in the next video. Toodaloos.
Uncle Chunt.